Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the English News from Djibouti channel. We will begin our news tonight with the main title. The leader can support the fund operation for the entrepreneurs. On continental news, the Olympic flame begins its journey through Japan. Welcome if you join us. The head of the executive, His Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Geli, proceeded to enable the block of the new Hamoudi shopping center. Upon his arrival, the president was welcomed by the Prime Minister Mr. Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed and the Minister of Waqf Mr. Mumin Hassan Barre. The president then cut the president of and the Minister of Waqf Goods and member of the government conducted a guide tour of the composition of this commercial center, consisting of a total of 6 buildings that cover an area 10,000 square meters. This complex that it's the Hamoudi shopping center is built on the site that once housed the main market of Djibouti, right downtown, with the singular architecture. This shopping center is a space with generous volumes that create the surprise by interaging with simplicity, built with an amount of more than $8 million. Its realization is a public-private partnership involving the Djiboutian state and the Mayor Yemen Investment Company, the Minister of Waqf, including the Minister of many member of the government participated at the inaugural ceremony.
jaranjarooyin adag iyo intaad jiira soo dhaaftay eed meela qayrkaa ku jabay adigu soo jiidhay way runta lagama jeeste intaad jariya buur fanatay ee aad jabuuti awadeed jirab kasta u mudatay way qof jiraysan mooye shacbigu jawilagu disqaadiyo wax qaba dunida soo jiitay ka jawaabka baahida jirtiyo waxay bulshadu jiidan jirida u yagleel horumar jiil dambi u aayo mashaariicda kala jaadka qodobka laga jaraayo jihaad baad ku keento raxmaan kuguma hoojiniye jawilagu disqaadiyo wax qabaad dunida soo jiitay ka jawaabka baahida jirtiyo waxay bulshadu jiidan jirida u yagleel horumar jiil dambi u aayo mashaariicda kala jaadka qodobka laga jaraayo jihaad baad ku keento raxmaan kuguma hoojiniye.
Once finished his visit, the president has his time with the mayor of the capital, Mrs. Fatuma, proceeded to the laying of stone of the future bus station place Mahmoud Harbi. Objective to open up urban transport, but also serve to relieve congestion in the city center market, where it's the smallest empty public space will exploited to serve as stations. Indeed, this project is part of the promotion of harmonious development of the city of Djibouti to make our city beautiful, pleasant, where it's good to live.
sinayno dadku kala wanaagsane wadanigan dulqaadiyo deeqsinimo ku caane loo daayo waa kee loo daayo waa kee loo daayo waa kee daljir waa ismaaciil daljir waa ismaaciil daljir waa ismaaciil ummadda daryeeshiyo ismaaciil daayartii waxbaratiyo ismaaciil dadku waxay yidhaahdeen ismaaciil dusha waxaan ku sidanaa ku sidanaa dusha waxaan ku sidanaa ku sidanaa ducaysana ismaaciil helalaylay dusha waxaan ku sidanaa ku sidanaa dusha waxaan ku sidanaa ku sidanaa ducaysana ismaaciil ummadda daryeeshiyo ismaaciil daayartii waxbaratiyo ismaaciil dadku waxay yidhaahdeen ismaaciil dusha waxaan ku sidanaa ku sidanaa dusha waxaan ku sidanaa ku sidanaa ducaysana ismaaciil helalaylay dusha waxaan ku sidanaa ku sidanaa dusha waxaan ku sidanaa ku sidanaa ducaysana ismaaciil
After that, the President of the Republic went to the Palace of the Republic, where the President launched the operation of support to micro entrepreneurs, known in the acronym of TPME, come to the aid of micro enterprise and small businesses for the informal economic sector hard hit by the crisis of the COVID-19 pandemic. Indeed, the government has set up the relief fund in order to inject targeted and unique cash to support the formal and informal TPME negatively affected by the COVID-19 crisis. Showing such a dear attachment to the youth, the President Gil arrived at the People's Palace to take part in the event.
madiya buuriyo banaanba waka 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 dalku wada bildhaamay hogaan shaqabilida fiican marwaquu noorseeday madiya buuriyo banaanba waka 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 dalku wada bildhaamay haddaan biristiyo haweenka bartii labadii kulmaanta hallays barbar dhigo nidhaahno horow markan baaxadiisa bilaahi caleeg baleega bilaahi caleeg baleega haddaan biristiyo haweenka bartii labadii kulmaanta hallays barbar dhigo nidhaahno horow markan baaxadiisa.
The Minister of Finance, Mr. Ilyas Moussa Dawale, he made a speech. He congratulated the young people for not relaxing their effort at the cost on an ideal that of being entrepreneurs independent in order to be successful models to promote the act of entrepreneurship for a wide audience. The President of the Republic's Excellency Mr. Ismail Omar Guelleh made a speech which he emphasized the risk of prolonging the effect of the pandemic long after the health risk has passed. He said that that's why it's crucial for us to spare no effort to support the entrepreneurs.
الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله الصلاة والسلام على رسوله الأمين سيدنا وحبيبنا محمد صلى الله عليه وسلم. Mesdames et messieurs, mes chers compatriotes,
Ladies and gentlemen, my dear compatriots, it is particularly pleasant for me to be with you today to proceed to the launching of this initiative or how much necessary and even more in the current context. Indeed, we know that the revitalization of the private sector and more particularly the support to SMEs and VSEs has always been the cornerstone of our economic policy in order to create a real economic fabric, creator of employment and wealth. This is especially true in our developing economies, where the role of small businesses is predominant. SMEs are truly the main source of job creation and supply of goods and services in local economies. Consequently, shocks to SMEs have major social implications for the population of our countries. This has been most apparent since the onset of the pandemic a little over a year ago, which was a major economic shock. We know that in order to mitigate the health risks related to the pandemic, we have been forced to take measures, sometimes drastic, that have largely impacted our economic fabric. However, when it comes to small businesses, they have a much harder time coping with the sudden market fluctuation and reduced demand during this health crisis. The risk of prolonging the effects of the pandemic long after the health risk has passed, that is why it is crucial for us to spare no effort to support SMEs, to get out to the informal and underemployment that affects many of our citizens and slows down our economic growth. Ladies and gentlemen, we need a different type of company, one with skills and capacities for innovation and wealth creation. I join in all the stakeholders to work together and bring, each in their respective field, proactive measures to support our small traders, artisans, self-employed, and other economic agents of the formal and informal sector. Thank you for your attention.
The president stressed during a speech made in Somali language the importance to help each other work together and show solidarity to one another. It's our duty, he said.
halka aan joogno dhibaatooyinka uu noo keenay cudurkaasi.
In this year, the problems that the pandemic brought us and which affected the economic growth of all countries in the world, it affected everyone from different background, ages, and social belonging. There is no doubt we were exempt from most of the hardship thanks to God. So we think that if people are divided and the economy is not protected, if people do not help each other, if the government do not respond, if they not identify the existing needs, we know that God has written for everyone to be provided with their basic needs. But everyone, whether the government or the population, needs to be listened to extend a helping hand to the most vulnerable, so that the population and the government stay connected. It is our duties. We have to help each other, work together, and show solidarity to one another. It is our duty. Human brain makes room for a person when he or she thinks where they can get their basic needs. So be the one to give first instead of taking first. So if the person is dependent on himself, on his trust to God, and on his abilities and skills, this person has the faith to provide for himself and succeed in it. When he succeeds, then he will be able to create jobs and employ people. These jobs will be developed if they are well managed. So when you ask an adult where they gain their bread from, and he says, I have this business, I managed it, and never done any wrong deeds, this is the kind of person who succeeds, who really succeeds in life.
The President of the Republic, after that, indicated that the revitalizations of the private sector, and more particularly the support of the enterprise that is known by the SME and the TPME, constitute since always the cornerstone of our economic policy.
waxa uu wasiirku yidhi dadka dhibaatooyinku ay soo qabsadeen.
According to the minister, small businesses that have been impacted by COVID-19 will receive assistance from the government. The government has put in place this assistance for about 5,000 people. This support will help these small businesses to recover from the crisis and develop their businesses. Today, 400 small businesses will benefit from this support. We would like to see that the people who have well-developed businesses have the duty to take part in this. We don't have a petrol, but we have people in entrepreneurship. And thanks to the taxes drawn from these businesses, the need for schools, hospitals, and infrastructure will be covered. And if this business doesn't have the capacity for paying tax, we won't impose. We want a free nation, mindful, self-sufficient, sufficient for the children, women, and the population. We will fight for their rights.
At the end of the event, the President of the Republic proceeded to give certificate to 12 candidates, micro entrepreneurs, self-employed, and liberal profession, particularly affected by the economic consequences of COVID-19, to benefit from amount of 2050 franc of Djibouti.
hoggaan shaqabilida fiican mar waquu noorseeday badiyo buuriyo bannaanba
The amount of the help for the entrepreneur are 250,000. This fund was set up by the government for a targeted and unicash injections to support those entrepreneurs. The electoral campaign for the 9th April presidential election will start tonight at midnight and will end on Wednesday, 7 April 2021. The Minister of the Interior, Mr. Mumin Ahmed Sheikh, emphasized during a statement made in his office.
Nous avons des institutions qui permettent que cet exercice puisse avoir lieu dans le respect des règles et dans les délais impartis par la Constitution.
The Prime Minister, Mr. Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed, took part this morning in the official inauguration of the cardiac catheterizations laboratory at the General Belti Hospital, welcomed on his arrival by the Minister of Health, Mr. Mohammed Warsa Mediriye, and by the Director of Belti Hospital, Mr. Zakaria Aulad Ahmed. The Prime Minister, Mr. Abdulqadir, proceeded to the traditional cutting of the inaugural ribbon under the applause of all medical and surgical bodies present at the ceremony. The Prime Minister, Mr. Abdulqadir Kamil Mohammed, stressed the importance of the commissioning of this new laboratory, which he said will improve the care of our fellow citizens. The first Russian anti-COVID-19 vaccine arrived this morning at Djibouti's international airport. These are 5,000 doses of Sputnik V vaccine purchased by the country to strengthen the current campaign and will be distributed in the different vaccination centers of the country. To this effect, the Secretary General of the Ministry of Health, Dr. Sarban, and proceeded over the reception ceremony of the Russian vaccine in the presence of the chairman of the National Commission in charge of the introductions and development of the campaign of vaccine, Dr. Ahmed Roble, the ambassador of Russian Federation in Djibouti, as well as the Djibouti ambassador to Russia, Dr. Mohammed Ali Kamel. And now on continental news, export and many others subjects. And during the Japan 2021's Olympic start in a different region in Japan country. Here we arrive at the end of this news edition. Thank you for watching us. Goodbye.